Calimera. So hi also to guys online. So I will present you an update of some activities that we are developing at ENISA on certification. Vicente will complement with some details on the wallet, on AI, and one important element, which is the CRA mapping, so how we will try to prepare for presumption of conformity to CRA using certification activities. Okay, that's me. Cool. So before I start, I learned that CCN is celebrating its 20th birthday. Congrats. We did the same at ENISA this year, so it's good to see how agencies develop over time. I saw Miguel Losse's presentation and how certification of CC is regaining some credits, 38 certificates so far in 24, if I remember the presentation, 38, and 17 on Lindsay, which is important also to consider that there are multiple schemes that exist on products. So EUCC was adopted this year. This is something which is to celebrate as well, not only our birthdays, but also this adoption of EUCC. We started in 2019 to develop EUCC. There was a first candidate scheme around mid-20, and then it took some efforts to get it adopted. I will elaborate a bit on the timelines, but again, to just tell you about what EUCC is as compared to what you already know with common criteria here in Spain with CCN acting as a certification body and your 6 labs. I saw in the picture 6 labs that are ITCEFs that are supporting the efforts. So EUCC common criteria focusing on the how to certify. So we are not saying you have to certify against this protection profile. There is a list of recommended protection profiles in the regulation, but it's just a recommended list. We will have still the possibility for every community to develop their own protection profiles, but still there will be a control of these protection profiles in order to make sure that we are avoiding market fragmentation. We selected 2 levels of assurance regarding the CSA possibility, which has 3, basic, substantial, and high, and we did the mapping with CC, considering CC allows from VAN 1 and VAN 2 to cover level substantial, and from the highest level to cover level high. What is that changing into your local way to do business is that CCN will continue to do level high as a certification body. CCN may certify at level substantial, but it's mostly expected that private CBs will take over and will certify at this level, which is expected to allow more time to market for this level of assurance. We have requirements in the scheme that are applicable to both the ITCEFs, so the testing laboratories, and the certification bodies. So far, most certification bodies were designated by law. Now we have a mandatory obligation for national authorities to notify the national certification bodies with a condition on accreditation and authorization for level high. The same will apply for ITCEF. They will have to be accredited and authorized for level high if they want to proceed for that level. The conditions for accreditation and authorization have been established using the 17025 and 17065 standards, but with refinement and additional requirements. And authorization is something that is a bit new. It existed a bit with the licensing on the common criteria, but we have regulated this area of authorization a bit broader. The certificates will have a validity of 5 years. The protection profiles is a bit different. They can have a longer validity. There will be monitoring, mandatory monitoring of the certificates. So it's not just one-off that you get certified and then you stop. You have as a vendor, you will have as a CAB, conformity assessment body, and you will have as a national authority to monitor the certificates to make sure that they are still valid and there are conditions for substantial, withdrawal, and so on. The certification bodies and the CABs in more general also will have a validity of their notification. So the EUCC was published in January this year. It's a legislative text. So it's not a mandatory certification, but it's a certification that if you go for CC certification in Europe, then you will have to apply EUCC according to the rules of EUCC. Meaning also that national activities related to doing CC certifications will cease progressively, especially if they are related to CSA activities. Of course, if you have national certificates that you are using for classified information, the protection of classified information based on CC, you may continue to have these certification activities nationally with national certificates. But the general case which is foreseen is that all CC certificates that you will have now here in Spain will have the EUCC mark and logo. Here you see a template of the mark and logo that will be used. It will highlight the level of assurance, and it will also provide a pointer so that you can see the status of the certificate. All certificates will be hosted on the ENISA website dedicated to certification, which is also a new element brought by the scheme. So we have built such a certification website. So far it only hosts the schemes, and later on, February next year, it will start hosting also the certificates. In order to publish this regulation, we had a text. So the original candidate scheme was around 300 pages, and the legal text is around 30 plus annexes, so it doesn't compare. And the goal was to refer to documents that have more technical background, more state-of-the-art documents, we call them, which reflect the technical expectations you may have when you certify a smart card or a hardware security module, or the conditions that apply on the conformity assessment body. So these elements that will have to evolve are also part of the scheme, but are not into the legal text that was published on the official journal. There are also guidelines that we will publish to support the implementation, and for example, we will have guidelines on authorization, which was mentioned in the criteria for CAPs to be notified at level high. Also, we have guidelines on vulnerability handling that we will publish very soon. So the EUCC was adopted in January. First certificates will be emitted from February next year. This first year is a year of transition. It allows the certification body and the ITSF to be accredited against the new requirements, to be authorized and notified. And it also allows the vendors to start preparing and adapting for the new scheme. The elements that the vendors will have to change well, there are not so many, and I guess the ITSFs are helpful also to give some guidelines to the vendors to allow to map to the EUCC, but mostly it's about having commitments, having new procedures related to vulnerability monitoring and handling. The rest is more or less the same, I would say. So it should be a rather smooth transition, we hope. The scheme has been adopted recently, but is still under renovation. And this is also something which is new with cybersecurity in the EU law, is that the law will have to change. So we anticipate yearly changes of the law. We will work with batch, we call this batches. So we will change the implementing regulation and the annexes. We will also change the state-of-the-art documents, and we will also add guidelines. So, for example, we are adding a new version of the accreditation requirements for the ITSF. So, for those who started their accreditation based on the one that was adopted with the scheme, the accreditation process can continue and the accreditation can be used. But for new applicants, the new state-of-the-art documents will be applicable. We have also the same for the certification bodies. And we are also fixing some elements. And for example, we are also trying to map with the CCRA evolutions regarding the application of the new version of the standard, because the common criteria had a big major change in 2022, and there are conditions under which you can still certify using the older versions of the common criteria, or emitting new certificates based on the older version of the common criteria for the protection profiles you are referring to. Interplay with other legislation. So I will leave the floor to Vicente to talk about the wallet, to talk about the CRA, and to talk about AI, how EUCC can be used for these different elements. On EU 5G, so we received a request to develop a scheme on 5G, and within 5G there are multiple elements you may certify. First elements that capture our attention was the EUICC. So the EUICC is a secure element which is commonly integrated into smartphones, and that can host, of course, eSIM profiles, but can host also wallets, possibly. And this is an important element of security of mobility that we want to reuse for the benefit of the wallet, and we have established specific requirements, so specifications for EUICC certifications that we have published for public review, and that we are currently updating, and we will see how we will integrate these elements possibly into EU legislation. NESAS, network products, there is an international scheme run by GSMA, and we want to have possibly an EU scheme dealing with the certification of network equipments. We have developed a foundation of such a scheme. We have to update these elements for multiple reasons. First, we have Open RAN, so RAN specifications that also came into place, and we have to handle the possibility not only to refer to 3GPP specifications, but also to these Open RAN things. We have to handle the CRA mapping, and that also is an important element. If you see the categories of products that are listed under the CRA, there is still a discussion to have on whether these NESAS network equipment are or not part of the regulated vertical domains. These are some elements we want to handle under the NESAS update. Managed security services, well, this is not so much a scheme that has a lot to do with products. However, you can imagine that some requirements on the way you do managed security services may relate to the security of the products you embed into your services. I don't know for the Spanish regulation, but as a former ANSI in France, we used to regulate the fact that the security operating centers have to use, if they work for the most critical entities, so the NIS2 critical entities, they have to rely on certified sensors, for example. I don't know whether it's something we will promote at EU level, but it's just to illustrate. The way we design schemes, and this drawing is also trying to help you to understand where we stand currently with the different schemes. So we develop schemes at ENISA. This is the red part. And sorry for the 8% of colorblind people in the assembly. These are the statistics. So we develop schemes based on the Commission's request. And in order to develop a scheme, we use industry for support through an ad hoc working group. And there was a recent call for an ad hoc working group supporting the wallet scheme that will start to be developed soon. And then when we have a candidate scheme, we go for public consultation to get the feedback, international feedback. We then update the scheme and go for the member state's opinion. The member state's opinion is anticipated to be rather positive because the member states are also associated within the construction of the scheme. So not only we get the support from an ad hoc working group, but also we call for ECCG members to participate. And then the Commission drafts an implementing regulation that is also submitted to public review and then becomes law. This process might take a while, of course. As I mentioned, we received the request for EUCC in 2019 and it was adopted in 24. This is the most advanced scheme. You see here the cloud scheme, which is at the state of having an opinion from the member states. The 5G scheme, as I was mentioning, is still under development, so we have books to update the EU ICC specifications based on the public review, plus we have to continue the work on NESAs. We just received the request for the wallet, so it's at the stage of having a call for the ad hoc working group that we are concluding now. And we have enriched the portfolio of our activities with feasibility studies. Feasibility studies are there to allow the Commission to make good requests to ENISA, considering the fact that if you ask for, okay, ENISA, please develop a scheme on managed security services. There are so many services that you can certify possibly. There are so many assurance levels you might consider. So the question is to anticipate what would be the services you would need first to be developed and certified for the benefit of NIS2 implementation. Is it about consulting? Is it about pen testing? Is it about SOCs? Is it about incident response? Which level? So we want to make a mapping between the NIS2 critical entities with assurance level high of CSA, or do we have a different system, just to illustrate? So we want to do these feasibility studies in order to de-risk the fact that we might receive a request that would be too difficult to handle. And we are very thankful to CCN here, to the support they are giving us for, in general, certification activities, but in particular, these managed security services where we are pretty much supported here as well. And the other certification feasibility study we have undertaken is on AI, and that this is something that Vicente will elaborate a bit. We are now thinking about the maintenance of the scheme, EUCC. So again, what I was mentioning is that the scheme, once adopted, is still a living animal. You have to feed, you have to maintain, and we are developing now the way the scheme will be maintained. So the ECCG, so the member states, have established a dedicated subgroup for the maintenance of the scheme, which has liaisons with other stakeholders. So the liaison will be through ENISA, member states, whoever has a particular appetite to liaise with external bodies. We have a liaison with European accreditation. As I was mentioning, accreditation is key for the selection of the conformity assessment bodies. And our European accreditation, who is running around 140 schemes into Europe, is very interested also to liaise with us to make sure that the requirements that we are establishing are applicable. So we have the liaison with the SOGAES members, so the legacy European SOGAES providers of CC certificates, which are still maintaining their national schemes and the structure which developed some of the important supporting documents, state-of-the-art documents that we are reusing for EUCC. The CCRA community, so the international community, is also very helpful because they have developed collaborative protection profiles, they have developed supporting elements that are also useful for assurance continuity, handling of changes into products, what is considered to be a major or minor change in a product, and we want to reuse these elements as well. And industry is getting organized. This is a community that has been created around Eurosmart, the European syndicate of smart cards vendors, which integrates as well ITSEFs and other communities of vendors. And they are organizing an ISAC that wants to be dedicated to the support of EUCC. So they might not have the exclusivity because there are some other relevant stakeholders that you might consider if you think about, for example, verticals into energy or whatsoever. But this will be hopefully one of the main supporting group for us. Cryptography is important, as you might guess, and so far it was left to national decisions. So how to select cryptographic mechanism, how to verify the implementation into certified solutions. There was a decision to embark cryptography into European schemes. So there is a ECCG subgroup, so member states governance subgroup that was created and which has already adopted a document to guide on the selection of approved cryptographic mechanisms, so ACM 1.3, which is available on the SOGAES website, but also on the ENISA website dedicated to certification. There is a new version that is under preparation that will cover post-quantum cryptography. And we are really willing to get that out, especially because there is a PQC roadmap which is under preparation under the governance of the European Commission that will establish within 2 years the EU transition into PQC. So by when, which types of systems have to move to PQC. And if you look at the US roadmap, for example, you will see that they already have chosen for national administration some important moves within 2030 or 2033. So we want also to have a European harmonized approach on PQC. But this is not limited to PQC. We are also dealing with the certification strategy of cryptographic embedded mechanism into products and services, considering the assessment of the conformance of implementation and also their robustness. Managed security services. I already mentioned the importance of such services to support NIS2, but not only NIS2. The Cyber Solidarity Act and other EU legislation. Time's up, I see it. And I'm not sure we have time for question. No?
I'm so sorry, Philippe. We don't have time for questions.
Okay.
But thank you so much for being here with us. So interesting. As I was saying, very important topic. Do you agree with me?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much. Thanks.